Hey everybody, this is Jon Croft with Culture Warfare with Jon Croft, and I'm Jon Croft. How you doing, Rebecca?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing great. My nose has been a little stuffed up the last 2 weeks or so, but I'm fine. It just kind of hits me every now and then, you know. But yeah, it's been a rough 2 weeks, not just because of my cold, obviously, but because of the news recently. Not a lot of new Media Moses Weekly news because a lot of the news in conservative media has been sucked up with the Charlie Kirk killing and so a lot of stopping of things. But I guess the only thing that we'll be talking about tonight is one bit of new news, which was due to the fallout from the Charlie Kirk situation. One of the late night guys, Jimmy Kimmel, said some not so fun things, not so funny things. Well, sorry, I should specify. He does that every night. But this time it was also not classy. So his affiliate cut him from the show. So he's no longer working on the show, the Jimmy Kimmel Live show or whatever they called it, which I've never watched. I don't care to watch most late night now. I liked Conan. He was good.
Mhm.
Uh, a lot of people liked. Are there any of the late night shows that you miss or that you liked, honey?
No, I'm kind of with you. Conan was the only one that kind of made sense to me, and then that was only during the funny parts. It's
Yeah,
just,
I think we had hoped that Colbert would be funny when he started. I don't know if he started like 10 years ago or something, because Jon Stewart's at least funny. Uh, his opinions don't make any sense, but he's funny. Colbert also was pretty funny with the shtick, but I think he got all the good writing from Jon Stewart, and so he didn't have any good writing when he got to his new show. And all the goodwill goes out of the room once you just end up being a political shill. So, eh, yuck. So now it's one flavor, vanilla, you guys. We just get vanilla. That's all we get. Just vanilla, 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 vanilla. With all of our late night shows. Nothing new to see here. Same guy. You flip the channel. Hey, he's saying the same thing the other guy just said. Flip the channel. Hey, he's saying the same thing the other guy said. Not even funny. Flip the channel. Same thing, right? What do you think our entertainment should be doing? Should they be just doing the same thing all the time? I don't think so. But what a lot of people are upset about, and Democrats are upset about, is that they're calling the Jimmy Kimmel firing a cancellation or even worse than that. Oh my goodness, they're calling it censorship. That is against the First Amendment, guys. How long have we been around and to hear these kind of accusations and silly nonsense? Like, who believes this stuff anymore? Why would anyone believe that being fired from your job is censorship? If you got fired from your job, Rebecca, would you be like, censorship? No, I
no.
wouldn't do that either. Anybody else? Anybody else out there? Would you, if you got fired from your job, would you claim censorship? I'm being censored, you guys. Let me tell you on my social media, I'm being censored. How much nonsense are we going to tolerate from these people? This is so much nonsense. There's nothing that says that he can't be fired from his show, and it's not. Why? How is that censorship? It's not censorship at all. Is he being kept from speaking or something? This doesn't make any sense. And I've even heard conservatives parrot the same thing that these liberals have claimed without any evidence that he's being censored. How, like, you know what I think it really is? We talked about this a little bit last week when we talked about the nature of leftism, right? And what it's done to our political situation in America and how it's kind of destroyed the equality in our country and a lot of other things, destroyed a lot of other things as well. Well, they like to work in double standards, right? They love double standards. They don't, which is biblically what? The opposite of justice. So they have double standards, which means They can do something like kill an opponent, like Charlie Kirk. But if they get kicked off of a job, that's like killing them. And they're gonna, why do I equate it to killing? Because they didn't say anything about that, but they're saying a bunch about Kimmel being fired. So that must mean it's worse than this political assassination. Or the other one wasn't worth mentioning, right? But this one really is, because this one's really important. This is so crazy. The weights and measures are so off, right? You know, another thing about this too is that I mentioned how the left believes that it has a special privilege, right, to work in media, but conservatives don't have that privilege, right? They act as gatekeepers to prevent conservatives from working in media because conservatives are like peasants to them. They're not part of the Gnostic cult, right? They don't get to go up there and do the do the do the holy banter about their gnosis, right? These days it's called propaganda. So they're not buying into the ideology. So how can they trust they're going to do the propaganda correctly? They don't. So they're going to be uh, exited stage right, right? And why do you think we have all the same flavor of vanilla on late night? Same reason. This is perfectly consistent with what's going on. But what does that also mean? When you have someone who deserves to be in that position, they have privilege in society, like Jimmy Kimmel, if they get fired from that position that they belong in, that's outrageous to them. Jimmy Kimmel's like a holy man. You can't question him and his authority, right? But if you're a conservative, you can get shot in the street. Or, well, in this case, at least you can't get the job that Jimmy Kimmel has, right? You're not worthy to get that job. We don't want to hear your opinion on here, right? So some people have questioned, including Ben Shapiro and many other conservative commentators, on whether this was a good move, right, on the part of who? On the part of who to get rid of Jimmy Kimmel? Well, people are claiming that it's on the part of the FCC, right? The FCC, because there were some conversations, right, from the FCC saying that I don't know if these guys, Jimmy Kimmel, they're not good guys. They're not classy. They're not doing a good job. And guess what? Oh, look at the small print. Uh, you have a license with the FCC. Wait, look at down here. Your show has to be for the public good. That's how we license your show. Let's say 50 years ago, like 70 years ago, maybe talking the 1950s. I don't know when they wrote these FCC licenses, but imagine what they were thinking when they started doling out these licenses. What do you think that they were thinking back then about the public good? Do you think that they were thinking we should allow a bunch of leftists to spout their ideology to the public, which is anti-government and even violent rhetoric? And how about this, lying and slandering about other people? Do you think that's in the public good? Is that in the public's interest? Right? So some of this stuff could even be considered illegal that these guys have been doing. Now, the fact that we haven't been enforcing these laws and these licenses is another matter. It could be for the last 20 years, we should have been firing people and pulling their licenses for putting smut on the air, right? Like, do we have a right to do that? Do we have a right to look at the small print and say, not in the public good, right? And what example do we have recently in which a license was pulled or even funding was pulled? Funding, not just a license, a bunch of money was pulled. I think you heard about this, honey. I was telling you about the NPR being cut from the air. Let's look at a video here. I think I can share it. So here we are in the National Review. It's going to tell us what's going on here.
Hey everyone, Rich Lowry of National Review here. Hey, it's finally happened. President Trump and congressional Republicans have actually cut off federal funding for public broadcasting. This is something the GOP has sought to do for about 40 years without success, and it's finally now happening. Cue the celestial angels and the singing and the celebrations.
That's right, you guys. So he's right. We've been trying to cut their funding for 40 years or so. Why? Because what they're doing is not in the public good. And how do we know it's not in the public good? Because it's not, in this case, it's not politically neutral, right? They weren't even lying and saying a bunch of stuff like Kimmel, right? But what they were doing was not in the public good. And guess what? We were giving them a bunch of money to do that. And we cut all that funding because we realized, oh, small print, it's not in the public good. It's not in the interest of the public for us to get all this biased preaching at us from one side of the political aisle, which is actually, as I've said, the left is not just an opinion in politics, it's an anti-civilizational force. So it's actually trying to shut down our government and cause chaos in our country. So probably not a good thing to fund, or even in this case, leave it on the air, right? So they lost their funding. And in this case, we're not even taking a bunch of money away from Jimmy Kimmel and their show and their affiliate, right? Like there's no money changed hands that I know of. So what happened? They just said, well, I don't know if this is good. All the FCC really did was say, I don't know if this is a good idea, guys. This is not very healthy, right? But FCC didn't pull their license, even though leftists are claiming that they did, or that they're being censored, which is even more ridiculous claim. No, the affiliate cut the show. So it's kind of like the company that broadcasts it. They said, well, this is not worth our time and effort, either because they thought they might have to deal with the license being cut, or they might have to deal with some kind of lawsuit, right? Or they might have to deal with the fact that they're losing a bunch of money on the show. They're not barely getting any viewers on the show. Isn't that a good indicator that it should probably be cut? Isn't that usually what affiliates or stations do when their show is not performing well? They just cut the show. I mean, imagine all the shows that have been canceled in history. And did you hear a bunch of leftists go, censorship? When I don't know, what Serenity got canceled. I mean, there's so many shows people loved that got canceled, you know? Oh my goodness, people up in arms, but nobody said censorship. That's silly. It's ridiculous. So Jimmy Kimmel's show was not performing well. Many of the late night shows don't perform well. They might be next on the chopping block. Who knows? For the same reason. It could be a domino effect. A lot of people are going to say, well, this is just unfair. This is the FCC exerting pressure. Maybe the FCC is just reminding them of the fact that they have a duty to make a show for the public good. Aren't they in their rights to do that? I think that's actually a service to the public to just remind them that their show should be in the public interest. And when it's not, which I don't think dull comedy is in the public interest necessarily, but I also don't think him lying about people and, you know, is a good idea either. And always being from the leftist side of the aisle. Always. So all that stuff, though, is not really about the FCC, is it? It's about the fact that there's a change happening right now. People are starting to see that the people they've been watching on TV are not necessarily working in their own best interest. And they might even be lying to them. And this is creating an atmosphere. And this is actually why I think the FCC said something. If you want to know what I really think about why the FCC put a little bit of pressure on the affiliate, here's why I think. The atmosphere we've got right now is an atmosphere of fear, trepidation, concern, not just for what the government's doing, but for what leftists are doing, right? In our country. People like Kimmel and Colbert and these other late night hosts are not removing that pressure by saying inflammatory things on their shows, which might cause even more harm than good. So someone was smart enough to read the room when Jimmy Kimmel was not smart enough to read the room. Someone was smart enough to read the room and say, this is not a good atmosphere right now. This is an atmosphere of possible violence that could boil over, right? Let's tone down the rhetoric, guys. And that is in the public interest. So when Jimmy Kimmel and their affiliates don't have the public interests in mind, the FCC has to, right? And all they're doing is reminding them that it's their duty to do that. And the affiliate was smart enough to say, you know what, maybe now is the good time. We were going to cancel the show anyway. Let's cancel it now. Because I don't think this is a good time for Jimmy Kimmel to go spouting off, right? It's not even a funny show. So I think that's what happened, guys. This is the last thing to call censorship. This is not censorship. No one's keeping Jimmy Kimmel from talking, right? I think a lot more of a claim of censorship is being kicked off of social media. When small people get kicked off social media, they don't really have a voice to speak back and say, hey, why was I kicked off? That was unfair. But guess what? I still don't even take the side of those people. You know why? Because it's true that you are on their platform. It's their platform. They own it. And if you don't follow their little tiny small print rules, guess what? They can kick you off. It's just like having a job, right? Oh, looks like I can fire you for any reason. Bye. Sorry about that. We like you, but you don't have a job here now. Kind of similar to that, isn't it? Kind of similar to the FCC going, oh, small print. Look at that. I can kick you off if I want to, right? The affiliate could have filed in court if FCC did anything, but it didn't come to that, did it? The affiliate was smart enough to go, let me read the room, just like the FCC just informed me, and I think that they're right. Is that some kind of government conspiracy or something? No, of course not. The FCC has a right to uphold their contracts, make sure the license is good, right? And remind people of their duties to the public. You know, we have this really strange idea that everything is a human right. It's really strange. And of course, America has the most human rights of any country in the world. And yet there's going to be these people who are like, I've got so much freedom. I'm just going to go right off the edge and claim that I have anything I want. Is just a human freedom. I have the freedom to do anything I want. That's just not true. You just don't have the freedom to do anything you want. And guess what? You can be censored also. It's actually not a First Amendment right to not be censored. I think a lot of people don't know that. We're supposed to speak appropriately where we go. If you go into, in a public space and there's kids there, you really shouldn't be indecent. There used to be public decency laws. Did you know that? Public decency laws. Guess what that means? You could get given a ticket for bad language in public. Did you know that? You could be given a ticket for doing something indecent, such as undressing in public. That's considered indecent in public. You'll be given a ticket after they put you in a paddy wagon and put you in handcuffs, right? Oh, cops see people like these all the time. And sometimes they just let them sit in a cell for the night, and sometimes they give them a ticket and say, don't do it again, buddy. You're crazy. Don't be crazy. And so Jimmy Kimmel, likewise, doesn't have just the right to say whatever he wants on a TV show. I don't know if you guys knew that. Jimmy Kimmel has to be careful of his language anytime he goes on a TV show. Is that censorship? Does nobody realize this? That we can't just say what we want? You go on social media, you really can't say what you want. Like you literally, your post could be taken down. Did you guys know that? Are you aware that there's little print rules for all of us when we speak? Sure, have a conversation about what is decent and what is indecent. Sure, have that conversation. But our society has been so full of this mindset of I have the right to do whatever I want. And people now have this attitude of like, you're trampling on my First Amendment rights to keep me from saying this bloop word and bloop and bloop and bloop in front of your children. And that's just wrong. You shouldn't be able to do that. Well, I'm sorry, but the First Amendment doesn't give you the right to do that, actually. It actually doesn't. So, it does allow a certain kind of speech, though, and it does allow you to speak against your rulers. It allows you to speak against your government. It allows you to say all kinds of things. It doesn't necessarily allow you to slander people, though, because that's not just a lie, right? It becomes, a lie is one thing. You could be kicked off a show just for a lie, right? That's one thing. But that's not criminal, right? That just is somebody, your program boss, your producer making a judgment, the showrunner making a judgment and saying, off the show, buddy, not cool. This reduces the legitimacy of our show. So I don't appreciate that. They have the right to do that, right? That's just lies. Now you get to slander. That's when what you're saying can harm somebody. Slander and libel and all this stuff. There's different levels of this. That's when what you say harms somebody, right? Harms their reputation, possibly, harms them substantively in some way, maybe financially. Harming their reputation could harm them professionally, for example. And so we have rules about this stuff. We have laws about this stuff. First of all, look for lies. Second of all, look if it's a lie that could hurt somebody. It could harm them substantively. That's what cancel culture was doing, right? It was harming someone substantively based on the lies that you spoke about them. And then removing their privacy rights, right? So then you're putting their information online and all this other stuff. This is even worse than just slandering them or lying about them or saying hurtful words, right? Everybody can just say hurtful words. There's nothing. Social media might, use AI and scrape their whole platform and be like, who's using these bad words a lot? Maybe we should give them a warning or something, right? But then there are much worse things, right? There's incitement to violence. This is not only something you can be sued for, but this is something that's criminal. And why is this? It doesn't just harm their reputation, it actually could harm their life, right? And it could cause people to harm somebody physically. And then if that person harms somebody physically, you could be an accessory to something like a murder, if what you say was incitement to someone to do violence and that person murdered somebody, you could be an accessory to that now. You could be part of that criminal case, right? Especially if it could be proven that there was a direct connection there to you saying this and then that happening right afterwards. So with these connections being made, right, you could see then also when Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, says something like, well, there's this hate speech and we want to get rid of this hate speech, which also has happened this week. A lot of conservatives were up in arms, but I think I was understanding the tone of what she was saying, which was hate speech in combination with violence, right? It's a different kind of speech now. The way the law typically has worked in the past, there's violence and there's speech, and these are two different things, right? But the way law tends to work these days, it's about formulations. So violence is one thing, but violence in cooperation with certain kind of speech ups your crime. It affects the case materially. So all of those things that happened before that crime occurred now plays into the severity of that crime. So all of that incitement to violence, if it is in the direction of a protected group or a minority group or a group that's been experiencing violence, right? That could become a hate speech crime, right? And a lot of cases have been legislated this way in the last, I don't know, 20 years, 30 years, even longer. And so things are switching though as it comes to what groups are considered victims of hate speech, right? That's flipping now because why? Because it's being proven now that there's a lot more violence against conservatives now and against like white people than the other way around. And so a lot of these numbers are changing because they found out that a lot of the crime statistics were actually fudged for the last, I don't know, few decades. And that people were fudging a lot of crime statistics to make certain things look a certain way politically. So this is really disturbing when you think about it, because what it means is that all the people that they've been saying were victims are actually not maybe that victimized. So the claims are starting to become empty, that certain people on the left are actually victims and maybe they're actually not victims. Oh my, could that be the case? So things get deeper, the plot thickens. Things could be changing in many ways. Did you know anything about the censorship debate?
I was going to ask you, what exactly is it that Jimmy Kimmel said? And yeah, that's what I was going to ask you.
It was a series of jokes and issues with those jokes. So he played a clip, which was a falsification. So that was one of the biggest things that you could call a lie, right? Where he made it look like Trump didn't care about Charlie Kirk's murder. So
Wow.
that was a lie. And then he made some claims about how this was uh, how the crime was committed actually by a right winger when that was actually completely false. There was like not even a shred of evidence that he was a right winger. But I think he listens to the wrong media sources. So liars listen to liars, right? So if you listen to a liar, you're going to end up being a liar. And so that's why you have to listen to multiple sources, right? You can't just rely on one source because that really could be, and this is like, the left talks about media literacy and about how there's misinformation. And then what do they do during those media literacy things? They just give a bunch of misinformation. Isn't that hilarious? Media literacy means you should do the wrong thing. That's we want you to do the wrong thing, guys. and think this is censorship. Oh, it's just the dumber get dumber, you know? And so this is, it's not to mock this, but it actually is dangerous. That's the problem is you end up mocking it because it's so crazy and ridiculous. You don't know what else to do about it. And in this case, right, things have now gotten dangerous, dangerously bad. So I was also this week listening to, I think it was Steven Crowder, who was in many conversations about how the right needs to stop tolerating violence and needs to stop kind of being passive, just tolerating getting smacked in the face instead of fighting back. And so he was like saying some shocking sounding things by saying the right needs to start using violence. And I think that's a shocking way of saying what he then explains later, which is, no, I'm just saying we should defend ourselves. Like, you think I'm saying something criminal or immoral, and actually I'm just saying we should fight the Crusades. Like, defend yourself and defend others, defend the innocent. And people are like, oh my goodness, are you serious? The right wing? Right wing is not allowed to touch any weapon because it's shocking. It makes me think of terrible things in history. But the left, oh my goodness, they can do whatever they want. So this is so I think Crowder is trying to kind of make us aware of the disparity between how both sides have been treated. Say, listen, we actually do need to do the right thing here. He also gave a list of ways that his life has been in danger for years and couldn't speak about it for legal reasons. He even felt a little bit guilty, he said, because he didn't tell Charlie Kirk some of the ways he could have been harmed because he felt like he had to mum's the word on it and not tell all of his conservative friends things that he probably should have told them, like ways that they could be harmed, because Crowder has a long history of being threatened where a lot of other conservatives aren't used to that, right? A lot of people have taken this stuff for the last 2 weeks very difficultly, and it's been hard on them. Erica Kirk has taken over the company now, and she's now the CEO of the company. As far as I know, CEO. Somebody said that they thought she would be able to help women in the church now, where before it was a lot of campus visitations. Not that she was not going to go to campuses, but they felt that women in the church needed help just as much as what Charlie Kirk was doing. If what they're talking about is feminism in the church, then I agree with that. I think that she would be probably a great example of not being feminist. I think that the church could use that help a great deal. But back to what we were talking about, right? NPR is an example of how nobody, like nobody on the conservative side said this was overstepping our bounds to cut off NPR's funding. So why are they doing that with Jimmy Kimmel? It doesn't make any sense, guys. If we can cut off NPR's millions of dollars of funding for not even doing what Jimmy Kimmel did, but just being biased and not very useful to the public, then we can possibly even threaten to cut licenses for shows that are in which there's lying and misrepresenting people in a atmosphere of violence, to keep the peace. And so I think that's the FCC didn't even do that. So the claim that this censorship is happening is nonsense. Even if they did censor him, which the affiliate, as I kind of already indicated, the affiliate censors Kimmel all the time with what he can say on his show. And we get censored all the time on social media. So this claim of censorship is kind of ridiculous. censorship is ubiquitous. We should know by now that we don't have the right to say whatever we want. And and Jimmy Kimmel can be fired from his job for any reason whatsoever. We didn't like you this week. Sorry. Bye, buddy. And sure, some people are not going to like that because they like Jimmy Kimmel, but I don't think most people do. His ratings were so bad. I think the Ben Shapiro show, Ben Shapiro mentioned how low his ratings were in the area of 150,000. I mean, that's like bottom of the barrel for a show like that on an affiliate broadcast. That's crazy. I think Shapiro gets orders of magnitude above that, like 3, 4, 5 times that on a YouTube show. So this is just absurd to think that they should keep this show on when it's not that good, and the evidence is in the pudding, and it's not that good. I mean, sure, everyone's going to judge it in their from their own subjective perspective and say, I liked his one joke that one time. Oh, but this poor guy. But guess what? 150,000 or so people says you're probably wrong, and that they didn't like his show, and that it wasn't that funny. That's why they didn't watch it. So I think even the affiliate made a statement. I don't have it pulled up on video, but there was an affiliate. I think that Sinclair, it might have been from Sinclair, but they said, we like Jimmy Kimmel. He's a great guy. But now if you live in Hollywood and you hear someone, a producer, say that to you about you, they just smacked you in the face. Everyone's so nice in Hollywood. Oh, you're the greatest guy. And then they won't do anything with you. Well, guess what? If they were ever to say, oh, John's such a nice guy, but oh, get ready. Oh, you just lost your show. So what did she say? She said, well, we like Jimmy. He's a great guy. But I think it was time. It was time to let his show go. We'd had it for a long time and blah, 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 blah. They might as well smack you in the face, right? People, so now you know that they actually didn't like your show that much. That's the truth. Okay. So sorry about that, buddy. You know, and that's just how it goes. So it was the decision of the affiliate. It was not the decision of the FCC. It wasn't censorship. And even if it was, we have every right to censor it. So what the thing I'm detecting here, and I'll wrap the show up, but it's pretty soon. But I wanted to let everybody know that we have no privilege to our own shows, to be hired onto our job, or to even be on social media. We have no special privilege that says, I deserve this, right? So all the dumb TV commercials that say, you deserve this, it's all dumb. It's all stupid, okay? You don't deserve it. They want you to buy their product, okay? Give them their money. That's what they're saying. And in this case, they want you to believe, leftists want you to believe that you have a right to get angry, violent, and have a victim attitude if someone doesn't do what you like, especially if those people happen to be on the right. And then you're going to make a bunch of claims like it's a human right to have this or that, and you're going to make silly claims that actually don't hold up. And nobody has a human right to have their own TV show. Okay? Nobody has that human right. And this is just an indicator of leftist privilege. They believe that they're privileged to have their things, and that if we take it away from them because it wasn't that good of a show, then this is some kind of political attack on them, right? People got so upset. If you look on Twitter and if you look on Instagram, people on the left got so upset about this. They considered this worse than Charlie Kirk's assassination. That's how they acted. And that this was an attack on the country, not on leftism or on Jimmy Kimmel or on like this, crazy people on TV, but an attack on America, an attack on the First Amendment when it's not an attack on the First Amendment at all. Jimmy Kimmel has every right to speak. He just doesn't have a right to a TV show. So that's a very different thing, guys. You can be fired from your job, and you can't claim First Amendment violation. So sorry about that. Can't do it. All right. So what we want is good, healthy speech. We want good, healthy shows that are good, that are funny, that are not all political. Goodness, can we just have some entertainment on late night? Maybe I might actually enjoy late night and watch it again. I'm not going to get a cable again, but I might watch it on YouTube or something like that. You know, have you ever opened up YouTube and they just recommend you a late night clip? And I just like make sure to not play it. I don't want to give them a red cent by playing a dumb clip, which is probably not even that funny. Uh, but if it's Conan, I like that guy. He's hilarious. There used to be some great late night shows. They were really good. I even used to like Saturday Night Live. That was good stuff. But now what do we get? We have a bunch of based conservative comedians who you can just watch YouTube clips of, you know, Theo Vaughn and Nicholas DeSanto and uh, you know, Ricky Gervais is not conservative, but he's hilarious. Anyway, there's a lot of people like that. I was watching The Office the other day. It was just, oh my goodness, old Office clips are the best. They're so good. Why would I watch any late night from today? Just watch some old Office clips. They're so much better. What was the other show we used to watch? We did watch Parks and Rec, and we used to watch Community. Those were pretty good. The Office was still better than those though. Oh yeah, Arrested Development was so good.
I love that show.
Man, I missed that show. What a great show. Shows like that are just so good. We need more of those shows, those kinds of shows. Just brilliance, brilliance. And we could dispense with all the late night stuff. There are, as I mentioned, and I know that the leftists, there's crying tonight. It sounds like the cats mourning or fighting or something. But really it's a bunch of liberals who are upset that that one guy got fired. Oh my goodness. This poor millionaire. Oh, please. He's a champagne socialist. He doesn't need your attention and affection. He'll be fine. Okay. Remember how we talked about toxic empathy? This is the same type of toxic empathy, right? Where people will care about a bunch of millionaires instead of caring about the homeless guy down the street or somebody who, like in Charlie Kirk's case, someone who got actually hurt, right? And they would rather care about their, little pet projects instead. Yeah, I really think that we just need to hire some of these conservative comedians that you can get clips of, and their clips are really great. Give them a late night show. Let them battle it out, right? Let them battle it out. Let it be like, I think there's like 6 liberal late night shows now, something like that. I could be wrong about that number. There's a lot of them. Let there be 3 conservative ones and 3 liberal ones. And then let them fight it out. Guess which one's going to have better ratings. I know which one's it's going to be. I know which one it's going to be. But you don't know yet. That's why it needs to happen, so I can prove my point. And you'll be like, oh, you're right. Well, anyway, that's this week. I wanted to let people know that I think these things are going okay as it comes to what Trump is doing in response. I think it's the right decision to dump Kimmel and many others. I hope that a few others get the shaft as well, because they're just not that good. I think Colbert is going to be gone soon. He's already on his way out. So I'm going to be even more grateful to see him go, because he was horrible. Because it's like he was funny at first, and then it's like, oh, he became the worst of all of them. It didn't take that long either. It just took a few years. I'd like to see like, oh, who was it? I was saying should be in that position. Oh, Nate Bargatze. He would be great. Have you heard or seen Nate Bargatze?
I don't think so.
He did a knockout be opening to the Emmys, and he was on the Emmys, and it was so good. I was like, this guy doesn't just do stand up. He does a whole like he could do a whole shtick with a bunch of other actors, and like he was on a set and stuff, and it was funny. It was great. Like so, he needs his own show. I think. I think it's his time right now. Nate Bargatze. And there's a few other people as well, but Brian Long's pretty decent. I don't know if I could see him hosting a show, but he's really great. He's just a little he's like a little loose cannon though. He's like a little oh, you know who'd be good? Tyler Fisher. That's the dude. Tyler Fisher. That comedian is very conservative, obviously. But you know, I think it would be great. Just he should just play up the fact that he's such a small guy. He should have a little desk, like like sit in front of this little desk, so that when people come and their couch is like twice the size of his desk, and then he could like sit down near their knees or something and be like, "How are you? Oh, that's your knees." Like, and then look up at people. I don't know. I don't know if that would be funny, but yeah,
Or
it'll probably get old after 5 minutes.
have the guests all sit like in a really low chair, like a chair that sinks them down, so he always looks taller than his guests.
Yeah, like right, like do the opposite. Like he always looks big and they always look small.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's really funny. He's great because he does really great impressions as well. There's plenty of other great conservative comedians who could have a late night show. And of course, they should just bring back Conan as well. Bring back Conan. He's still, as far as I know, he's still doing it. He's obviously obsessed with late night kind of comedy. So, I mean, otherwise, why wouldn't he just stop doing it? I'm sure he has plenty of money to just retire, but no, he loves it so much. He has his own little thing where he does his own show. It's like, why don't you just take the guy back? Uh, that would be good. All right, you guys, you're not being censored if they shut you off of social media, and neither was Kimmel censored for being kicked off his show. So, and we're doing fine. We hope that the culture shifts and more of these kinds of useless, not for public good shows get defunded and kicked off so that we can have better entertainment with more value for the public. And so I'm good with that. Hope you're good with that. Hope you're good with more decent entertainment. We deserve better. We deserve more. We deserve better than Kimmel and Colbert. All right, you guys, check out some conservative comedy tonight on YouTube. But if not, that's how the culture crumbles. No, we love you guys. Any last words, and where can people find you, Rebecca?
You can find me writing on Substack and also on YouTube. What about you, John? Where can people find you?
Yes, I have been, it's true. I have been less on YouTube lately, um, and less on Medium Moses, but that's because I'm working on getting the house fixed up. About that.
Yeah.
Yes, I've been busy. Sorry about that. But love you guys. Hope you have a great weekend, and give a salute to the culture warrior out there who makes life worth living, that artist and culture builder. Have a great weekend, guys.